Hey everyone, it's Sydney and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about what I did to get arrested and like how I got arrested, the whole process of that ultimately led to me going to prison. So I was 21 and a junior in college, and I was pretty much a total party girl in college. Like, I was still smart. I had pretty much a 4.0 through most of college and was just partying really super hard on the weekends. And naturally, I hate to break your bubble, parents, or anything, but naturally with like partying and drinking, a lot of kids in college are doing a lot of cocaine. That is a very real thing, and I kind of fell victim to that. It started escalating a lot worse from like my sophomore to my junior year, to the point where I was like pretty much not just doing it at parties, but doing it like every day to get through my day. In my head, I justified it because I was like, oh, like most kids just take Adderall. It's basically the same effect, but this is just like what I had access to. So first, I just want to say, like, I'm gonna leave out some details and like people that were involved because I just need to take full responsibility for what I did. I don't want to hold any resentments or like include anyone else in this story. This is just about what I did, and nothing else should matter. Like, if you had any part in my arrest, like, I forgive you. I can't hold on to being upset and angry and like wishing that I hadn't trusted certain people. But long story short, I got a text from this guy that I had like partied with a few times in college, and he was like asking if I knew where to get coke, and I was like, yeah, I have some. So he came over and I sold him a gram of coke, which if you don't know what a gram looks like, think of like a sugar cube. A sugar cube. That's what I went to prison for. If I was probably anywhere else besides the fucking hillbilly ass college town that I was living in, I definitely wouldn't have gone to prison. But since they were such a small town and like super petty, like, and trying to make an example of me, that's just the way it went down. So he comes to my house, we have some small talk, whatever, do the exchange, he leaves. That was pretty much that, and then life went on. About a month later, this was either in the beginning of June or end of May of 2018, I was babysitting and I get this call from a random number, and I answer it and they were like, hey, this is Officer so-and-so. I don't even remember his name, but he was like, we have some mail of yours that got turned in. He was like, I don't know if this was like a theft. And I was like, oh, weird. Like, maybe it's because I've moved in the last 6 months. Maybe I was still getting mail sent to my old apartment. But I was like, I know it's not going to be like bills or anything important. I was like, you can just throw it away. It's probably just like junk mail. And he was like, legally, we cannot throw away your mail. Like, you have to come pick it up. And I was like, okay, well, I'm babysitting right now. And he was like, oh, that's not good. And the way that he said it, like, made me realize that something's up. Like, he's like, oh, you're a drug dealer and you're babysitting. So, I started to, like, get a little nervous. So then he says, well, where are you at? We can just come drop it off to you. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And he was like, yeah, I'm about to get off. I'll just come bring it to where you're at. And so I gave him the address, and then I like called the police station because I was like, that was weird. Like, I hope I didn't just give like a random person that is posing as the police like the address to where I'm at, where I'm watching kids. Like, I probably shouldn't have done that. Immediately regretting it, and I'm just like, but I called the police station and gave them the phone number that had called me, and she was like, oh, that's Detective whatever his name was, I don't remember. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Hang up the phone. Fuck. It's a detective. Like, I know something's up. Like, this is not normal. But I'm still like hoping and praying that like maybe it's just a detective of like officer trying to get your mail returned. Like, that's what his detective work is. But like, I had a guilty conscience because I knew what I did. So I knew that the likeliness of that being the case was not very high. I also had told the officer when I was going to be off work. So about an hour before I was supposed to be done babysitting, I see a cop car pull into like the long driveway of the house, or like the houses next door. And I'm like, please do not like come in here and like arrest me while I'm still babysitting. That would be like so humiliating, like so embarrassing, and just like so terrible. I'm like, what the fuck? But they pull into the next driveway and then they just turned around and left. And so I was like, okay, maybe like the coast was clear, they didn't find me, I don't know. So I get off work, I get done babysitting, and I leave, and I get onto the main road and immediately see a cop pulled over on the side of the road. I drive past them, just like making sure I go the speed limit, whatever. He immediately pulls out and pulls me over. And so he comes up to the window and I'm like, hey, was I speeding? Like, what's the speed limit here? And he was like, Miss Hipke, I'm officer, whatever. We spoke on the phone. And I was like, oh yeah, you have my mail. And he was like, yeah, so I actually lied to you about that. That is the first and last time that I'm going to lie to you. But you're actually under arrest for delivery of a controlled substance, cocaine. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. And in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I fucked up. Like, how do I take this back? Like, I can't believe that this happened. And on the outside, I'm like, I think you must have the wrong person. Like, that's definitely not me. And he was like, well, we know that it is you because we have recordings of you in your home making the transaction. And I'm like, are you sure that it was me? Literally playing so dumb. I'm freaking out, but I didn't even know what to say or do. And he's like, we want to help you by you helping us. And at this point, I'm still just sitting in my car and he's talking to me through my window. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he was like, we want you to purchase drugs from the person that you get it from while you're wearing a wire going undercover for us. And immediately it clicks for me that that is what that guy that bought it from me was doing. He must have gotten in trouble for the same thing or something similar and was like trying to find someone else to throw under the bus. I don't know if you know this, it's pretty common sense that like fucking around with drug dealers is like a not good thing to do. Like, you don't want to throw like real drug dealers under the bus. So of course he would pick someone like me, like whatever. I'm over it, it is what it is, but like if you're going to be doing something like that to save your own ass, of course you're gonna do it for like this girl that's 5'3" and not gonna like come after you with a fucking machete. I don't know, but either way, the cop says that to me and I'm like, I don't even know where I would get that. And he was like, well, obviously you do since you sold it to someone. And I was like, no, like, I really don't know. And in my head, I'm thinking like, and even if I did, I would never fucking do that because I'm not an idiot or a terrible person. Like, I could never live with myself knowing that I just like threw someone else completely under the bus to get out of my own shit. Like, that's not the kind of person that I am. I wouldn't be able to live with that. I believe in karma very strongly. Like, that is not something that I'm ever going to consider doing. Not even for a split second did I consider that. So anyway, the officer basically says, like, do you have someone that can come pick up your car? So I have someone come and get my car. They arrest me, they put me in handcuffs, read me my rights. I pretty much remained completely silent after that. Like, I got in the back of the cop car, didn't say a word. I felt nothing. Like, I literally was just like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm accepting it. I didn't cry. I didn't know what to believe. I just like didn't want to like prove that I was guilty in any way. I was like, okay, now this is just gonna be a whole process. I did not at all even think that the possibility of me going to prison was going to be like, I didn't even think that that was an option. Like, I totally thought that this is gonna be like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to do some like community service, or this is really gonna suck, I'm gonna have like a record. Life comes at you quick. But anyway, they take me down to the police station. they book me. I don't remember too much about like what happened. This was honestly like 2 years ago now. I just remember they put me in a holding cell. The holding cell was basically like, I would probably say a concrete room that was maybe like 7 foot by 7 foot, and there's just a bench and like a metal toilet that is also a sink. Like toilet, and then like the top part of it is like a sink. So I'm sitting there for what feels like forever. I'm like, oh my gosh, how long is this gonna take? Like, I have homework assignments due tomorrow. Hopefully this isn't like an all weekend thing. Luckily it was a Thursday, so like they didn't like keep me over the weekend. But at this point I know nothing. They're holding me forever before they book me, probably so that they would like have to keep me overnight. They literally waited for like the next shift, I'm pretty sure. I was probably sitting in that holding cell for like hours. I remember that I was like so bored in there. I was like using the bench to like step up and do like butt and leg workouts. And I was like doing a bunch of squats and lunges and stuff. I'm just like, when can this be over? I'm over it. Like, and also as I just started to sit more like alone with my thoughts, I'm like really starting to freak out at this point. Like, what does this mean for me? I have no idea. I've never been arrested before. I've never even been like in trouble before. Like, not serious trouble. Like, I've never actually been arrested or anything. So this was like, oh my god, I can't believe I fucked up this bad. Like, I can't believe I did this, blah, blah, blah. But still at this point had no idea like what this all entailed. So eventually they take me out of the room and they book me. They take my mugshot, they take my fingerprints. I'm crying at this point, just like tears streaming down my face, like, oh my gosh. The guy that is booking me is like, seems really young, and he was super nice. So I'm just trying to sign my paperwork through my tears, and the guy at the desk is like, my cousin got arrested for similar charges, and I was like, oh, like, what happened to him? And he was like, I think he did like a year in prison. And I was like, what? Like, oh my gosh. I was like, that's not gonna happen to me. Like, that's not gonna happen to me. Anyway, eventually we get through the whole booking process. They handcuff me and bring me upstairs into my cell, where I got to sit alone with my thoughts and think about what I did. Honestly, that whole day in itself would have been enough punishment for me to never do anything bad again. Luckily, they just let me go like pretty much first thing in the morning. My court hearing was at like 7 in the morning. By the way, if you have never been to jail, don't go. It's the worst. It sucked so bad. Oh, this was probably the worst part, is that I'm literally like sitting there in my sorrow, trying to sleep but couldn't. It's like a tiny little cell to myself, same thing, just concrete walls and then a metal toilet / sink, and then like one like thing that had like a mat that was like plastic. It felt like literally plastic bags from the grocery store, but like a bunch of them were stuffed into like another plastic thing. And like anytime I tried to move, it was like so I'm trying to sleep. I'm basically fading in and out of sleep at this point. I had been in the jail since about 4 or 5 p.m. and I had no interaction with anyone. I was still very confused about how this whole thing was. They didn't give me a phone call. They didn't tell me really anything. So I was just sitting there like, how long am I gonna be here? Like, I don't know what my rights are. I don't know anything. I'm just sitting in this cell. And a cop would come by every hour, just like shine a flashlight in the window really quick to make sure that we were like still alive, we're still there, I don't know. So I noticed that that was a thing, and I started to have like questions. And so I was sitting there waiting for the next cop to come. There's no clock or anything, so I had no idea what time it was, but I'm just like laying there waiting for someone to come. Eventually a cop comes by, shines the flashlight in, and I was like, hey, wait a second, like, and they were like, yeah, and I was like, what time is it? And he was like, it's 2 a.m. And I was like, okay, thank you. Asked another question, something about like my PIN to make phone calls, or like when I'm going to be able to make a phone call. Like I was thinking, you know, like I need to get in touch with an attorney or something. As I'm asking this question over like the intercom, because they have like mics in the cells so they can like hear you, and someone calls over the intercom from like the control center and was like, "Why are you talking to yourself?" And I just lost it. Like I started sobbing. I was like, I'm not talking to myself, I'm talking to an officer. Like this is already the worst day of my life, and now you're yelling at me and being mean about something that I'm not even doing. Like who cares if I was talking to myself? I was lonely and I was scared in there, but I wasn't. I was asking this cop about questions. So then the cop that I was talking to like radios, and he was like, no, she's talking to me. And the cop was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I don't even get a sorry. Like that was so rude. Anyway, basically first thing in the morning, I had my court hearing, which was at like 7 a.m. I think, maybe 8 or something. I don't remember. So they take me down back to the area where they booked me, like the desk. And then they handcuffed me. Well, they put like a body chain around me and handcuffed me to the body chain. And then they handcuffed my ankles together with a chain like connecting to the other people that were also going to court. I'm pretty sure we were like all connected. It was literally like a movie. Like, so we're like waddling, then had to go up like 3 flights of fucking stairs to get to the courthouse. I'm wearing my adorable orange outfit that I forgot to mention that they made me change into when I first got there, or when I got booked. And so yeah, I get there. Luckily, I already had an attorney called for me, ready to plead my case. And basically I got out without having to have any bail, because this was literally my first offense ever. My first time ever being recognized by the court for any reason whatsoever. Maybe I've had a speeding ticket or a traffic ticket or 2, but nothing serious, like nothing that I have actually been arrested for. So they let me go. I had to go all the way back down in my little body chain, handcuff, orange outfit, and then go back to my cell and wait for like 20 minutes before they could release me, because they had to do some paperwork or something. And then I got changed and my friends were waiting for me to pick me up. And the rest is history. If you want to know more about kind of the timeline of what happened after that, please see my first video titled I'm Going to Prison. Honestly, I don't recommend you watch it. It's really like bad and long and awkward, and I was really scared and really nervous to talk about it. I feel like I'm finally starting to be more comfortable in front of the camera sharing this whole experience with you. Obviously, initially when I first, before going into prison, when I posted my videos, I was really embarrassed and didn't feel confident that this was like something I should actually be posting on the internet. And then getting out of prison, my first few videos, I'm just like still adjusting to like who I am outside of prison. But now I finally feel like I found my voice again and I feel more like myself. So if you are interested in hearing more about what it was like for me in prison and just stories about my experience, make sure you click subscribe and click the bell notification so you get notified every time I post a new video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure you give it a thumbs up if you did. Stay in school, don't do drugs, don't get arrested. See you next time.